I'm Natalia Colman. Welcome to Bead House. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make this beautiful cluster necklace. Now, why are these necklaces so great? Well, they're really the height of fashion at the moment, so you can see them everywhere all over the high street, but they're also a really fantastic way of using up all of those leftover beads that we end up with, just putting them on one side or in our stash. And so you can make quite a few of these necklaces. And the beauty of them is that you have lots of different sizes of beads and lots of different textures. You don't have to have equal amounts of anything. The more the merrier, and the more interesting and textured it makes the piece. So for this particular necklace, what we've done here is used purple tones, but there's lots of different variations of that. And we've also used some grey in there. So choose colours that coordinate really nicely with one another. Now this particular necklace has 140 beads in it, which is quite a chunky, heavy piece. But if you're not a chunky person, you don't like to wear jewellery that's quite gem heavy, then that's okay too, because you can just add as few or as many beads as you want to make this piece your own. So what will you need to make this? Well, first of all, you're going to need some of our chunky chain. And we've used 2 strands of this chunky chain, and they actually have a clasp incorporated into them, the chains. So I'll show you how to use that later on, and you can make the necklace whatever length you prefer to suit your own neckline. I've got a variety of different beads. Some of them faceted, some of them are plain, and some of them are patterned. And they vary in size from being quite small, so between 6mm and 8mm up to 20mm in size. And the variation of sizes really makes this piece interesting. We've got some faceted beads and then some smooth ones as well, so that all adds to the interest. Then I've used this bumper bag of head pins. So you will have more than enough head pins in this pack to make a necklace of this type with 140 beads in it. And also some of these silver coloured little beads. And we've used some of those on the base of the larger beads within the necklace, and it just adds a little bit of character to the necklace as well. And then in terms of tools, that's pretty standard. So what you're going to need for this is you're going to need some round nose pliers, some flush cutters and some flat nose pliers. So now that we know what we're making and we know what we need to make it, I'm going to show you how to complete this project. So how do we start off our cluster necklace? Well, first of all, I've got some 20mm beads here, and I've got 5 of those. And then I have the 16mm beads, and I've got 6 of those. So it's important to start your necklace off with the largest beads first, and then to start to build in the other beads that are gradually going down in size. And so how do you actually attach the beads? So we're going to start off with one of the little silver beads, and I'm threading one of those onto a head pin, and then I'm just placing one of my larger beads here, this beautiful banded agate. And I'm going to start right at the base of my chunky chain. So at my very bottom link, I'm going to just take that excess wire of the head pin through that final link in the middle of the chain. Taking your round nose pliers, you're going to do a wrapped loop. So wrapped loops will make these beads very secure on your chain. It's really important that you do wrapped loops rather than just bend a loop with the head pin. So I'm taking the head pin wire to the right, to a right angle, and then I'm going to take the excess wire over the top of my round nose pliers. So then you have this loop. It looks a little bit like a question mark. And so make sure that the link of the chain is sitting really neatly within inside the loop. Then I'm going to hold on to the loop with my round nose pliers, and then I'm going to take this excess wire back around the base of the head pin and the top of the bead. So it just helps if you hold on to it with your flat nose pliers, and you're going to wrap that excess wire around and do it quite tightly. So keep wrapping it. Now what you could do is you could take the wire all the way around so that until you have no wire remaining, or if you prefer, you can also use your flush cutters just to cut that excess wire there. So taking my flush cutters, I'm just going to trim that wire off. I'm going to make sure that I cover the excess wire with my fingers so it doesn't fly off and hit me in the face. It's really important to do that. And then using my flat nose pliers, the wire is just sticking out a little bit, so I'm going to use my flat nose pliers just to push the wire up against the top of the bead so that it's nice and secure, and it also doesn't stick out and catch on your clothing or your hair. So that's my first bead attached to the middle of my chain. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place the other beads randomly at intervals around the chain so that this creates almost like the base of our necklace. So I'm going to do the same process. I'll just show you one more time. I'm going to put one of my little silver beads on, thread that onto a head pin, and then I'm going to thread the head pin onto a bead and placing it about 3 or 4 inches away from my first bead on one side, and do a wrap loop with my round nose pliers. So attaching that to the chain, taking the excess wire all the way around. And don't worry if you're new to making jewellery and you haven't quite got the hang of making wrap loops, because by the time you get to the end of this necklace, trust me, you'll have had so much practice at it, your wrap loops will be beautiful. And we've all been there, we've all started somewhere with jewellery making, so practice makes perfect. So I'm just trimming off that extra wire and then using my flat nose pliers to make sure that the wire isn't sticking out. And so that is as simple as that, really. This is the process that you're going to use all around the necklace. So we're going to attach these other larger beads and also position these beads that are just a little bit smaller around the necklace. So decide where you would like to have them and attach all of those beads with a wrapped loop. And then once I've done that, I'll come back and show you the next stage in making this necklace. So now to add some smaller beads to the necklace, and as you can see, the large beads have really filled out the chain now, but we still have, when I hold it up, we've still got quite a few gaps in there. So my next layer of beads that I'm going to put on are 10mm size beads. And I've got some grey glass pearls here, and then I have some, these are faceted glass crystals, and the grey just adds another tone to the necklace, and the faceted glass crystals, these have got an AB coating on them, so they just have this really lovely, just like a very interesting kind of rainbow effect to them. And in this case, I've got 16 of each of those 10mm beads. So these are going to spread out nicely around the necklace, and you don't have to do them as accurately spacing them apart as you did with the larger beads, because the necklace is really starting to bubble and cluster at this point. I didn't put any of the little silver beads at the base of the head pin on the second set of beads that I've threaded on, but what I am going to do in this case is I'm going to put a silver bead at the base of the glass crystals just to add another dimension of colour and texture to the necklace. So this is my next layer of beads going on, and then I'll show you what that looks like after I've put them all on. So now those beads have been added, our necklace is starting to look really encrusted with all of the different beads and gemstones, and now it's ready for the final layer of beads to go on. And I've got a selection of beads, and this is where you're going to add the colour. So we've got a pop of colour with some purple, some lighter pink and some fuchsia pink. so to really make the different smaller beads stand out a little bit. So these beads are 10mm, and it's great because you've got such a lovely combination of the different sizes and the colours now. And all that you need to do at this stage is to create wire wrap loops and incorporate these beads into your necklace wherever there is a space. So as you can see, the necklace, when we hold it up, you can still see the chain. And the idea to achieving the real true cluster necklace is to cover up all of the gaps in the chain. And you do that by adding in the smaller beads and giving this extra colour emphasis. So that's what I'm going to do to finish the necklace, and then the final stage is to attach the chain so that we can get the length right. So that's what we're going to do next. So the normal length of this chain that I've been using for the necklace is 17 inches, and I want this necklace to be slightly longer because I feel that's just going to be a little bit short, and I've taken the beads right up to the end of the chain. So I'm going to add 2 inches of chain to either end of my necklace, and the links on this chain are great because they're all individual but they're quite sturdy. So I'm going to take the clasp off each end of the necklace and then attach an extra 2 inches of chain, and I'll show you how to do this. So right on the end of my chain where I have my clasp, there's a jump ring, and I'm just going to use my round nose pliers and my flat nose pliers to open the jump ring. So I'll just get them in the right position, and using my pliers to, with my right hand I'm pushing the jump ring open outwards, and I'm pulling the other end of the jump ring towards me to open it. So I'm just removing the clasp and I'm going to take the jump ring off there. And I'm going to do the same thing at the other end of the necklace. So that one has a jump ring too. And the jump ring is slightly smaller than the length of the chain. So I'm using that, opening the jump ring up, removing the other end of the clasp, and just pop that jump ring off. I haven't opened it widely enough, so I'm just going to do that. Open it a little bit wider and remove it. Okay, now what we're going to do is to attach this chain to the necklace chain that has the beads. Is if you look carefully, you'll see that there is a little opening in the jump ring, and so these rings of the chain are they're oval shaped, and at the top of the oval there's a little cut mark where the jump ring is able to be opened, and you have to be quite firm with it because the metal is quite hard, which is a good thing because it gives the necklace substance. So can you see I've had to use a little bit more strength to open that up. So my jump ring's open. I'm going to pop the open jump ring onto the closed jump ring that's on the end of that piece of chain, and then I'm going to, with a little bit of strength, close that back up again, and make sure that you twist and rub the edges of the jump ring together, of the link of chain together, so that there's no daylight between them and that it's nice and securely fastened. And because the metal is so hard, you are able to take links out or add links in to this chain, and then you're not going to interrupt the strength of the chain because it is a very sturdy piece of metal. And we're going to do the same at the other end of the chain, so opening up one of the links at the end of this extra extension that I've got, and I've already put my clasp on at each end of this chain. So I'm just opening this up again, and then I'm going to attach it. Find the last link in my chain and then very carefully close it up and make sure that there is no gap between those two pieces of metal. And the final stage is just to fasten your clasp, and there you have the completed necklace. So you can use any combination of beads that you want. You can use use fewer beads if you like, and different colours. You could do a wild and crazy combination like bead soup and see how that turns out for you. I know it's going to look spectacular. And also a really great way of using up any kind of glass or resin beads or glass pearls, which are much lighter weight, for a necklace of this purpose. The other thing that you can do is you can follow the same steps to create a bracelet. I wouldn't use the bigger, chunkier beads for a bracelet just because simply it will be just a little bit less comfortable to wear than wearing a necklace. So choose your smaller beads for that. And you can do the same thing to create a pair of earrings, but just drop down and have a nice cascade of a cluster of beads coming down the chain with them. So I hope you have a lot of fun with that, and look forward to seeing any of the projects that you make. Do send us your designs, we'd love to see them. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and don't forget to check out our website for lots more tips, ideas and kits at beadhouse.co.uk.